We need a bug out plan. Hey guys, Jacob here, and welcome back to Modern Masculinity. Today I'm going to talk about what bug out plans are and why you need one. So, with the world becoming increasingly unstable, it is necessary to have property off-grid where you can live off the land. And you need a way to get there when shit inevitably hits the fan. Now, this may sound like some doomsday prepper type discourse. That's not my goal with this video. My goal is to make sure that as many people as possible have at least some kind of preparation for when government fails them. It doesn't have to be a cabin off-grid, though that's what I'm going to be advocating for in this video. As long as you just have some extra canned food around, enough for maybe 1 to 3 months, you've got a huge leg up on most people. So, I'm going to talk today, first of all, what is a bug out plan? So, a bug out plan is essentially a plan of action, a detailed plan of action for what you will do and what those closest to you will do in case of some kind of disaster. This can be any disaster that leads to a breakdown of authority within civilized society. While some people prepare specifically for volcanic eruptions or zombie apocalypses or pandemics, the common point between all of these, I have realized, is simply the breakdown of government authority, of government power. Basically, you need to prepare for a time when the government will no longer be able to protect you. When there won't be a police force. When there won't be a fire department. When there won't be hospitals. When there won't be an army. When there won't even be a government to speak of. So, with that out of the way, let's delve into this. I'm specifically going to be talking first about how you should make a bug out plan. So to make a bug out plan, you need really two things. You need a method of transportation, and you need a final destination. On the method of transportation side of things, there's an awful lot of discussion on what the best bug out vehicle would be for a disaster, breakdown of authority type of situation. While some online may advocate for, a giant boosted Ram 1500 with a huge metal bar on the front and like 16 extra gallons of gas or whatever, I think frankly just a car is good enough to start, because let's be real, any property you do buy will be connected to a road, probably, unless you have like a right of access through other people's property to something remote, but that's not what we're discussing. As long as you have a working, reliable car, that's all you really need. Gas mileage is not so important on this front, because all you need is a vehicle that can get you from where you live to your bug out location. From that point onward, if we're living in a situation where the world is dangerous, where there are bandits and brigands roaming the countryside looking for people to rob, looking for women to rape, looking for families to destroy, you're not going to be driving your loud car everywhere, your gas-guzzling car everywhere. First of all, because it's an extremely resource-intensive thing to do. You need to find some way to source gas. What happens if something goes wrong with your car? Sure, I have an OBD2 scanner that can tell me, if the evap sensor is fucked or like if I need new transmission fluid. But at the end of the day, that's not fixing my car for me. You know, most of us rely on other people so much. And this is a point that I'm realizing now that I'm just driving home further. All that to say, you just need a vehicle that can get you from where you live to your bug out location. Once you're at your bug out location, if you want to kind of roam the streets, go on supply runs, my personal recommendation would be, interestingly enough, a bicycle. Now hear me out on this. A bicycle allows you to easily outrun anybody on foot, and it can go places that cars, full-size motor vehicles, simply can't. This allows you basically to escape from both people in cars and people on foot, which is pretty cool. The other thing about bikes is that they're incredibly easy to take care of, incredibly easy to maintain. So that's just another benefit of bicycles. So we have our method of transportation locked down. You should have a bicycle and you should have a car. Now we're going to talk specifically about your bug out location. Now it's my firm belief that you need some kind of off-grid property. What are some basic necessities on an off-grid property? Well, you need a place to live, probably a cabin if you live in the northern hemisphere. You need a substantially large vegetable garden. You need an outhouse, obviously. You need to be far from the nearest urban center. I would say you need to be at least an hour drive at highway speed away from the nearest urban center. I live in an urban area with about 1.5 million people. So I would have to drive about 100 kilometers away, anywhere in the kind of north, like it could be northeast, northwest, north, straight north. You also need to be near public/crown land. Basically, this ensures less neighbors. You need to be, if possible, surrounded by land that is owned by the government. Most of the land that you see when you're driving in the countryside is public land. That's what they call it in the States, and crown land, which is what they call it in Canada. Basically, state-owned land that can be used by the public in one way or another. You can go hiking on it and whatnot. But if you're on property that's near these places, you're not going to have a bunch of neighbors, right? Also, if you're near crown land, this is land you can essentially use to hunt on when everything hits the fan, because there will be no more government to stop you from hunting on said land. So, ideally, you should spend about 20% of your time, I'm talking starting today, on the property, building it up and ensuring that it is ready to be lived on full time. And the other important thing is that you need to bug out before shit hits the fan. This is crucial. You need to be able to recognize the time when you gotta bug out. Because by the time that there's emergency warning lights on the television and on the radio, it's too late. Everybody's going to be running for the hills. Everyone's going to be going to see their family in rural areas, or trying to go to another city, or just get out of the city. So it's too late at that point. The roads will be filled up. So you need to bug out before shit hits the fan. And this will obviously lead to you bugging out when it's not necessary. You'll identify red flags and you'll be like, shit, we gotta bug out. You'll go into your full bug out mode. And after a couple weeks or a month, you'll realize it was a false red flag, but better safe than sorry. So I want to go back to the point about spending about 20% of your time on the property, building it up and ensuring that it is ready to be lived on full time. For me, that has been looking for land to buy. And frankly, with the amount of money that I have to play with, about $15,000 or $16,000, I can't get much more than an acre. Once I have $50,000 or $60,000 at my disposal, that will make things a lot better. So until then, I'm basically out of the game. But that's okay. I'll get to it when I get to it, once I have the financial resources. But once you have that land, if you work a full-time, like 9 to 5, ideally you should spend your weekends up there. So let's say you work like 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and I don't know, you like go to the gym or train Muay Thai after work or Jiu-Jitsu or whatever. Your weekends should be not spent lazing around, doing like household chores. On Friday night, you should be driving up to your property and working on it, building a cabin, just doing something to aid in its development. That being said, we need to ask, how does having a bug out plan and being able to survive off-grid relate to masculinity? Because frankly, so far, this has just kind of seemed like me going on a tangent about, my fear of government authority collapsing at any given time, right? So it connects to the fundamental tenets of masculinity. Protect and provide. Well, I mean, the fundamental traditional tenets of masculinity, not the ones that I have come up with, but this video idea was made before that tenets of masculinity video. Anyways, still, protect and provide are valid tenets, just not necessarily in the modern civilized world. They were more valid in a time where economic circumstances allowed for single income households. Anyways, in terms of provide, it allows you to provide for your family with subsistence. So having an off-grid lifestyle will also deepen your connection to nature, which benefits in your physical and mental health and makes you more primally masculine, as it were. But importantly, obviously, if you have a family, if you have a wife and kids, and you bring them off-grid, you're doing an awful lot of a better job protecting them, like providing for them, with, homegrown vegetables and going out to hunt, so eating fresh game, than some guy who's, when the apocalypse hits, just like kills himself or whatever. In terms of protect, this is the most important one. It keeps your family safe from shit hitting the fan situations. So think about all of the potential risks that could befall your imaginary or real wife and children in a situation where government authority breaks down. Immediately, I think about, your wife, getting raped, your children being taken away or simply killed right in front of you, and then you being killed, or you potentially even worse off, being left to continue living a shell of your former life in this post-apocalyptic wasteland, having seen your wife raped and your children murdered in front of you. This is what it's really all about. This is what it's really all about preventing. So get to it. Start building a bug out plan. No matter what stage you're at, get some level of preparation. Even if it's just going onto online prepper forums and looking up some tips and buying some extra canned beans at the grocery store. Start with something. Have something. Anyways, this was more of a somber video. If you've made it to the end, thank you. Please leave a comment down below. I don't care about likes, views, none of that. Comments are the most important measure of how my channel is doing to me. Anyhow, stay safe out there, y'all, and stay reasonably hard.